G'day everyone, here we are back again, Mondays at Moffs. Sorry I disappeared for a week. I've been doing a massive overhaul of all the different shows, so basically culled a few. Now I've got film, instead of doing Filmmaker Fridays, that's changed to Filmmakers, and I've created a snazzy kind of title sequence and some other things, trying to just lift the production value as I go, and kept Changemakers, but I'm also now running that through YouTube and Facebook. Well, as you'd be aware if you've made it here, we transitioned from Instagram. So today it's kind of take two with Dianna Mullins Nee Edwards. So she runs by both of those names, but she's an Aussie local legend, and everybody around Moffat pretty much knows who she is. So the Moffat Beach Motel has been here many years. They've done a real beautiful job of I think embracing its place. You know, it's affordable accommodation near the beach. You don't have a view of the beach, but it's only like a 100 meters, 200-meter walk through some beautiful rainforest, and you've got lovely clean rooms, beautiful friendly people looking after you, and it's got a really cool kind of funky fresh sort of vibe, so much so that a few people have taken up the option of doing music videos and swimwear shoots and other things like that there, because they like the classic kidney shaped pool. So let's get her on here and we can hear all about her story. G'day.
Hello.
How you going?
Welcome. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm excited that we're here now after all the schmozzle last time with good old well, I won't name and shame them, but the
No,
great telco of Australia.
yeah, I love positive stories about that company. I just don't know anyone who's got many, so a shame. But all sorted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So now, like as we go, just I should have let you know earlier, but I'll flick between screens. So like if you go full screen, don't think that I'm gone. It's just that I'm changing it around, trying to keep it interesting and fresh for our viewers. So how about telling everyone a bit about yourself in your own words? I guess you know who you are and what you're doing currently, and then we'll kind of, I guess, dig into the backstory from there.
Of course. So I've owned the motel now for 17 years. And while I had small children, I had managers here. So we were very fortunate. We lived close by. So we could literally pop in around the corner. My parents would come through. My sister lived here. Lots of local friends always driving through. It's a bit of a train station socially, which I love. I even love the 3 o'clock beep that I used to get from the other mums picking up their kids from school, you know. But that's Moffat, right? I love that. So the motel's had a constant upgrade, but I love that it's retro and old school.
Yeah.
And it was my parents who encouraged me. Oh, God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. You do what you have to do.
I'm just going to
Um,
that makes it really quick. You know how I said I fixed that technology glitch? Oh, good.
yeah,
Um,
no, yes.
so
Continue
look,
talking
my
about your
parents
parents, I
encouraged
think.
me to come and buy this because we were living in Brisbane, and
Yeah,
I couldn't resist the opportunity to raise the kids here and have a small family here and basically live here after the city's great and lots of opportunity, but nothing beats living on the coast, and I would never go back now.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So when did you move here? What year was that?
So we bought the motel in 2002, and we've lived on site, we've had managers. I've been here on my own now, running it as my own gig for, gosh, 6 years now.
Mm,
And that was a bit challenging because a lot of banks don't want to know you as a single parent, and
yeah,
just even on your own, it's a seven day business. But
yeah,
you know, the guests keep me going because they're so different every
yeah,
day, and I
yeah,
love.
yeah, that's great. Uh, um, I think your Bluetooth maybe's dropped out.
There we go.
Might have,
Better.
yes. Yeah, technology's still haunting you. Don't worry, it gets me all the time as well. And there's
You'll be
nothing like
happy to
live
know that
streaming.
I've just won a grant for that, so you'll be happy to know that that will improve because I just received that rejigging grant, so it'll mean a new computer system and a new cloud beds program that I can contact the guests on, and yes, certainly
Yeah, that's
improve with
awesome.
social media. Yeah, I hope
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I've got to get across the grants more. I've just, it's one of those things that pops in my head every so often. Sometimes I look into things, and there've been a couple that I had considered applying for. But yeah, I need to really get on top of it with, I guess, what I'm doing now with Flicks for Good, because I'm getting to that point now where I need to really put the gas down, and I just need some dollars to help probably with the marketing side of things.
Of
Like I
course.
know a reasonable amount of stuff, but at the same time, there's only so many hours in the day, and
Oh,
it just
100%.
it just disappears all the time. Yeah, so you came in 2002. So let's talk about, I guess, your earlier life. What's your kind of the backstory? Did you grow up in Brisbane, or where did you
No,
come from?
I'm a Central Queensland kid, so
Okay.
grew up in country Queensland.
Yeah.
You know, in a small town that was, my mum and dad were in Rotary. They did a lot of, country women's association type stuff. They did a lot of charity work, and I think just in a small town where you had to look in people's faces and shake people's hand and call people Mr. and Mrs. Like a lot of old school manners really serves me now in this business. But
Yeah.
I was also a Rotary exchange student overseas, went to boarding school. So I don't know, social skills are hugely important. But I
Mm,
think
mm.
that creates an interest in people in general. And I don't know, everyone has something to, pardon me, offer, and you can learn something from every single person that walks in,
Yeah,
which
it's a
I
beautiful
love.
attitude. Yeah,
Yeah,
I grew up in the country as well. So I grew up in little towns in New South Wales, like probably about 4 or 5 different places, because Dad was a primary school principal. So we kind of
no,
started in little teeny one teacher schools. So he taught kindergarten to year six, 20
wow,
kids,
that,
and the
that is small.
It's small, yeah. And then we had a couple of two-teacher schools, then down near Victoria, and then I was lucky enough to be, but because it kind of works in a system where the less desirable the location, which is often the more remote it is,
Yeah.
then the more points you kind of accrue and to get to the other schools that are more desirable. So by the time I was going into high school, we moved to Bellingen, which is near Coffs Harbour, and it's a little bit similar to here. It's a really beautiful area with like kind of rainforest, and then you've got the beach half an hour away. So to me, like the beach was always just a magical place. Like we'd go on holidays at Christmas time and stuff like that, go and see my nan and pop. They live down south of Sydney on the coast, and I just love it, and that's why I just was excited to move here. And I don't know about you, but to me, coming to the coast was a little bit like getting back to the country, or it's at least a step in that direction.
Of course.
Yeah,
And
from
I think
Brisbane.
Canberra really is like that too, right? It still is a small town, but it's got
Yeah,
the spread of the coast. The Brisbane city is so close; it has everything a big city has to offer. It's an hour
yeah,
away. It's perfect, right?
yeah,
But my
yeah.
nana
It
lived
is.
here too, so we were quite fortunate because well, as a kid, of course, everyone was going to the Gold Coast, and we thought that was so glamorous and fabulous, and why couldn't we go there? Not
Yeah,
realizing what a little treasure we had here. But
yeah.
we came every Christmas for school
To
holidays
to here to
to
Caloundra.
Caloundra. Yes, because my
Yeah.
nana was here.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, nice.
So that was like a 20 comic book drive, right? With a bit of torturous Johnny Cash by my dad. Wow. It was
Yeah.
it was a long trip with that music, let me tell you. But we did it every year, and
Yeah.
I'm so grateful now they moved because we were actually in boarding school in Yeppoon in Central Queensland.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad bought a business here, just at Dicky Beach. So Dad had the pharmacy there for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Moved to Brisbane and then settled here. So it
Yeah.
was my mum actually got on the phone and said, "You need to get here and buy this business," because I'd been working at Hilton in the city.
All
So I was
right. Okay.
Hilton trained. I was hostessing in a very glamorous job in the city.
Yeah.
But once I had children and thought, oh, I don't really want to do the city thing with them, and we
Yeah.
certainly weren't going to go out west, so this was the perfect option.
Yeah. Definitely. And then you got all those nice childhood memories, I guess, of being here. So that's sort of extra
Yes.
special. I don't know about your kids though. The one thing that my kids like, they do not appreciate the beach at all, or pretty much any of the beautiful stuff that we have around us. And like typically on a Sunday, we like to try to. I normally go to church Sunday morning, but we normally sometimes in the evening, but we try to keep the rest of the day free to do family stuff. And often that involves like going somewhere and going for a bit of a walk or something like that, or sometimes we have to compromise and take them to the playground, or maybe a walk in the playground, because it's kind of like it's sort of like they despise the walk, we despise the playground.
Oh, you know what? I used to drive my kids to school via the beach, and it would
Yeah,
always do, look, see where we live. We're so lucky. People
yeah,
pay hundreds of dollars to come and stay just a night or a weekend or a week here, and we live right here. So
yeah.
I did that very regularly for my kids. So I think they do now appreciate it because they were forced to. But you know, take the long route to school just so we can look at the beach on the way. Yes, I'm
Yeah,
one for that. But
it's
I love
lovely.
the beach. I'm so grateful to live here. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is great, and I pretty much mention him every show, but he does deserve it, courtesy of this guy in the States, Coach Jay, who I started following on Instagram. And that's kind of how I led to doing these lives, because I enjoyed watching his live show. Um, he has now got this following of people from all over the world, and then through just interacting in the comments, and I've been on the show a couple of times, I've gotten to know all these people all overseas, and they just love seeing all the stuff about Moffat Beach on Instagram. I need to have more time. Like, we went for a walk out at where we go? Yes, we went to the Glasshouse Mountains lookout. That's kind of out in Biwa sort of direction, and we had driven up there before, and it's really pretty. You do get lots of glimpses of the different mountains, but I didn't realise just how much like of a 360 panoramic view you get up the top there. It's amazing. You can see pretty much every mountain.
Yes,
Yeah, so that was
beautiful.
really great. Yeah.
But even on
Um,
the other side of the highway, because I went dirt biking on the other side of the highway recently, and just on one of the, it's not a mountain, it's just one of the hills, I guess, like on a rise. And
yeah,
even just sitting up there on the bike, you can see all the way back in. It was really just gorgeous, and all over the
beautiful.
Aura development, and you can see how it's all coming together. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, there are lots of those great options too, like off-road sort of stuff, which I'd like to have the right sort of car to be able to get out and get amongst it. But yeah, hopefully the kids will appreciate it over time. Look, if they don't during their childhood years, I know they will later. Like when we first came up, I was doing a bit of Uber driving on the side just to kind of sort of boost up cash flow and that sort of thing. And I did that in Brisbane too. I just normally work like a Saturday night and just kind of start in the afternoon, work all the way through the night, and so you get all sorts of funny characters in all sorts of conditions. And but I love having a chat. So
Right here,
yeah, yeah, and
right?
pretty much everyone who said that they grew up here said that they didn't really appreciate it much when they were kids, but then they realised just how great it was when they were adults, and so that appreciation comes. So tell us about so to get into that role that you were in the Hilton, that sounds like you're kind of a high end sort of concierge and looking after special people. What was the background story before that? Like, what kind of jobs did you do in the early part of your life?
Oh, look, I'd studied well, I think being a Rotary Exchange student, and I was actually one from this local club here, because
Okay.
being in a small town in the country, I think there was a little bit of tall poppy, and my brother wanted a plumbing apprenticeship. I definitely wanted to do Rotary Exchange, and I think my parents could see that perhaps in a smaller town that wasn't going to happen. So they were very, I thought they were very selfless, and moved to the coast, which I'm sure benefited them too. But
Mm,
they certainly did it for our opportunity, which I'm always grateful for. I mean, expecting that of children, Brad, just as a heads up, kids are never grateful. That
yeah.
comes a long time down the track, which, as
Mm,
long as you get that, you won't be disappointed.
yeah.
But like my parents certainly did that. Um, and look,
So talk
I
about
think,
Rotary Exchange. Sorry to jump in there. Like, so where did you go overseas and what was involved?
well, I'd been studying Japanese at school and I was very good at it.
Mm,
But after going on a very quick YMCA tour over there, I just thought a whole year of going back to grade 12 and doing schooling there would have just been just a bit arduous, I guess. And
yeah.
so I pitched for Canada and got it, which was
Nice.
amazing. So then you sort of avoid the whole language barrier for the first 6 months. And I don't know,
Yeah.
they're like Commonwealth cousins, right? So every Canadian you meet wants to come to Australia, and just about every Australian you talk to wants to go to Canada. So
Yeah.
it was a pretty cool year. But
Yeah.
you really need to, you need to be very independent, and you have to have good people skills. It just forces you to talk to strangers and to
Yeah.
talk about your country. And yes, you just have to do it. So I think it's those skills, and not so much that I studied marketing and management and hospitality,
Yeah.
even though working in the high end of hospitality certainly helped. And I
Yeah.
think that helps here because it helps you give people a better level of service when they don't expect it. They think they're paying a small amount for a one night stay. And when you exceed their expectations like that with amazing customer service, they're pretty chuffed, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I love that here because I think they do get that from me. And I really taught that to my manager, Michaela. And yeah, I think having a clean business and then giving people customer service, especially when they don't really expect it from this, I guess, star rating or level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing
Yeah.
the surprise. I think you delight them when you exceed their expectations. How's that?
Yeah. It's lovely. Um, okay, so you did that, then decided to make the move, come to the coast,
Yeah,
and
and it
buy
was a
the
big bite.
motel.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
buying your own business and just in my mind, I
Yeah.
thought, oh, you know what? It's just a little scrunched down version of the Hilton, and I can come here and do exactly what I did there, which I guess I did in terms of customer service. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, when you are the concierge and the housekeeping and the front desk and your everything, and it's every single day, that
Yeah.
was, and then we had small children. We had a little boy and a toddler, so that
Wow.
was quite interesting. So I
Yeah.
think it was a bit of a shock, for my husband and I at the time. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I think people now really appreciate that it's a family business and we're
Yeah.
not attached to a pub and you don't have to go into a public bar to check in. And it's
Yeah.
actually, my business and someone who loves it as a manager who loves her role and loves the guest just as much as me. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's really personal and it's, we really appreciate the guests where, you're not a number,
Yeah.
you're not just talking to a regular or a casual bar staff member who's doing dual jobs.
Yeah.
It's really, it's independent and personal, which I love. And
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
guess like that. And it's
Yeah.
rare now. Like, a lot of bigger companies have eaten up the smaller motels, so they are attached to big companies. And
Mm.
yeah, it means less customer service and less personal experience. So I hope
Yeah.
we can keep that here.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Well, I think it's really, you get to the point of things almost being like a heritage type sort of thing, like trying to keep a capture of a time print. Obviously, you keep it fresh
Yeah.
as you have done, so you're not using the same carpet for like 50 years, but you've still got the
Oh,
same
well,
general
no.
aesthetic,
Yes.
which is nice. And for people to go somewhere, just a little bit different, and Moffat Beach as well being somewhere that lots of people just haven't discovered for whatever reason. I always feel a little bit torn sometimes with like, sharing and promoting and talking about
Yes.
how great it is, because you're sort of like, am I shooting us all in the foot here because, that's
Oh,
maybe
I know.
going to
I
bring
hear
more
you.
people?
Yes. And I don't know if you were here when the Today Show did Moffat Beach a couple of years back, and
No.
I actually spoke to Carl Stefanovic on the side for a bit because we had a mutual friend down south, and he kept saying, "This is so beautiful here. I can't believe it's like a little gem, and it's a bit of a secret treasure, and no one knows about it." And yeah, they both, well, even through the broadcast, they were saying that. And I think a few of the locals were standing around going, "Oh, do we really want it to be released and shared?" And look, of course we do, but
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to have that energy, I think, and it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love it. It's funny because Debs and I, my wife, we've been coming up here to the coast for holidays for 20 odd years from Brisbane. So, like, obviously I had that country background, but then I went to Northern Territory for a little bit. Then I went to Sydney for a couple of years. And then,
Wow,
so
you've been
going,
around.
yeah, yeah. And we've done a fair bit of travel overseas as well. So,
Right.
and I used to hitchhike around the place. Like nowadays, I guess it probably isn't. I don't know. People would think it's not safe. Maybe it isn't safe. I don't know. But anyway, look, I kind of also love that I got to do that because it was a real adventure, and you'd have people ranging from, businessmen that you maybe occasionally thought could be going to take you somewhere and kill you, or just really crazy stoned hippies, and you're riding in the back of a combi, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
great.
I don't mind that. Look, my friends call me Pollyanna because I do. I'd always think, oh, come on, people are generally good, and
Yeah,
it is a nice positive attitude. But yes, I don't know about promoting that, Brad, these days, but still,
yeah,
I think I think you're pretty safe, and nothing
Yeah.
ever happens here. I love that I can say, look, it's very safe here. You're fine. Like I used to run quite late at night after everyone had sort of settled down, and
Yeah.
even to feel safe that you can do that in a place like this is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
that about Moffat. Everyone watches out for each other, and yeah, it's a really nice vibe here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. And we just hadn't really seen it. Like, that's we'd been coming up here, and so we stayed in Caloundra a few times, like, over New Year's Eve, and because when particularly it's sort of sort of tradition started when we had our daughter, who's now 9. Because prior to that, we had had about 10 years together, being really social and going out and partying, and New Year's was always a big kind of all night type event. And
Yeah.
so then when we had my daughter, I was just like, oh, okay, like obviously we can't do that. We're just going to be by ourselves. I was like, let's go somewhere nice. And I figured out that over at Rolling Surf, you could have a view of the fireworks because you could see
Right.
the park. And so we still went down and took part in that little kind of fair. They had that kind of beachside, fair with a few rides and stuff. That was great. And then we went and just hung out in the apartment and had a few drinks. And I think Debs fell asleep, and I just listened to music and watched the fireworks. Yeah, so we've done that.
I've got my children are slightly older, but even to have a 14, 15, 16-year-old who can go to Caloundra Music Festival during the day and experience that, on their own and be safe, and you don't have to be there, helicoptering over them, and they can go to those events, fireworks, with their friends, and they're
Yeah,
safe because there's, when they turn around, there's someone there that they know, or there's someone from school, or there's someone that mum knows from work, or I love that. And to get that in a coastal town, I mean, it almost doesn't happen in the city, but
yeah,
I feel like it's a really nice segue from the country life that I had. And
yeah,
I think living here saves me from wanting that for my kids because they actually get it in a different version, which I think is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And
I
now,
know what you.
don't you think too, with all the different groups, like there's the longboarding down at Moffat, and then now there's all these bike groups that meet and ride in around that park at the back of the school there. Like that's all so cool.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah. I
so
really
many
like that.
here.
Yeah, yeah. I think as COVID sort of restrictions ease and people get back to, or hopefully get back to, be able to, be within 1.5 meters of each other and
Yeah.
gather and what have you. I'm really keen to, I'm really keen to actually do some live events of this and maybe do like because it was an idea I had. I can't remember whether I spoke. I think maybe I did speak to you about pre-COVID when I was doing my video production business. I had thought of doing Mondays at Moffs as a bit more of an upscale thing where we do it at the brewery and have a couple of cameras going and do like a
Right.
real high-end production, half a day of filming at people's businesses and get a whole bunch of B-roll footage and kind of really put something together that was high quality but for a price that was reasonable. And I thought that was possibly going to be a decent model. And with that, I had the idea of doing an occasional like panel type sort of event, potentially with a few different people, and just have it at the brewery there and have a bit of a meetup. And I still like the idea of possibly doing that down the track. So I think that stuff like that. It's just a bit of fun, and
Oh, and
get
I think
other
that's
people
a
involved.
good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you'd be shocked how much people are moving already, Brad, because normally June, July for me is a fairly low-key holiday. And I know that, everything turned on its axis and
mm,
so things did get wiggled around. And certainly June, July holidays, we had way more people here than we normally would because it's sometimes a bit cool and the beach is a bit, I don't know, wet and windy maybe.
yeah,
But June, July was really busy because everyone wanted to get out. And this September holidays was just off the chart. And
yeah,
I
right.
think maybe because we're the first beach break from Brisbane,
Yep,
but I noticed a lot more people from Ipswich to Toowoomba, sort of that west, were
yeah,
coming,
right.
and Harvey Bay and down were coming. Not so many people out west. There's still a lot of drought out west,
Yeah,
but I think people really are on the move, and I think they're looking for, maybe not always a big commitment of a week away. A lot of
yeah,
people aren't affording that or can't wiggle it after they were forced to take, so much holiday time or break, just as COVID was happening.
Yeah.
So the weekend thing really is massive, or a quick night away, like you said, a sneaky little
Yeah.
night away when there's so much on offer here.
Yeah.
If you don't want waves, there's that whole area around the estuary. If you want
Yeah.
waves, you just walk 10 minutes on a beach and you get to a flag. If you want
Yeah.
rock pools, you've got them. Like everything is here. We're so
Exactly.
fortunate.
Yeah, that's what I love about Moffat is it is like this little mini version. It's got all the things I like about a coastal area. Like it's a curved beach. There's a headland,
Yeah.
so you can look at the headland when it's kind of like a bit. There's a lot of haze from the spray from the surf, and you can think about sailing ships or adventures and things like that. And then you've got the rock pools, and you've got the bommy out there. You've got the
Right.
inlet, which is nice and warm, and that's so good for little kids, like because it's ranges from sort of like nothing to like. There's a huge area that's really shallow, so it's been really good. You get the kids down there. One thing I will give Kings Beach and Bulcock the nice sand. So they've got that nice soft sand. Like ours is quite
Sure.
coarse over here, but it's because there's lots of crushed up shells and things like
Of
that. So
course.
that also means that there are more shells to be found and rocks and other great things.
Yeah, but even that headland. I mean, when you can say, "Oh, look, there's wind over this side. All right, we'll go like less than a minute in your car to
Yeah,
another beach." Like the options are, and pardon me, no traffic, and you're not having to get back onto the highway to change beaches. I mean, that's gold, right?
yeah,
Like there's
exactly. That
totally blown out one side. Oh, no worries. I'll just go around the headland, and it's beautiful and flat with a little rolling wave. So
that's yeah. That's what I love.
I could become like the Caloundra, promo girl. 'Cause
Yeah, right. Me
I
too.
get
Like,
it.
yeah. I just like all the walkways. You've got the wooden walkways around between
Gorgeous.
Happy Valley and I mean, how good's a place that's called Happy Valley anyway to start with? That's a fun little place to go and awesome playground with the kids. You got the pendennis palm trees. You get sunset over Bullcock side. You can have it.
Oh, right.
Hey,
We talked about the fireworks at New Year's Eve. Every
yeah,
Christmas tree came down. That little Happy Valley area, which is now all, it's all beautiful car parked and developed. That
yeah.
used to just be a carnival every holidays, and there'd be
Ah,
a
right.
few rides and a few caravans, a good old Dagwood dog van.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty, old fashioned, but it was cute, right?
Yeah.
And
No, I
fun
love
times
that.
too.
Yeah, and you get a sunset over the water at Bullcock. You can see the sunset go down over the inlet, going round Bribey Island and the mountains in the distance. Yeah, very good. No, it's a very easy place to promote, and it's very Instagram worthy, which is why I've done it.
Nice.
Because it's just you can't really go too far wrong. You don't have to be a pro photographer, though I do enjoy that side of things, of course. With the interest in video, more interested in video than photography, but I still kind of like all those different aesthetics. Now, tell me, what do you do from a sporting perspective? You're a pretty fit and healthy person,
Yeah.
which I know because of the lecture regarding the monster cans, which I still haven't completely gotten rid of. So
Right.
I'm
We talked
trying.
about that, right?
We did
Oh,
talk
look.
about it. Yeah. So
I know.
what's
I get asked about the tennis outfit all the time, and I know Matt quite well from the tennis centre here, and it's just because I'm a Scort fan, but it's more the whole Lorna Jane activewear thing really works here, because if you're zooming around and
yeah.
cleaning the pool or doing some gardening or running around the rooms, yes, then you can actually look, I hope, fingers crossed, decent to check in guests in the afternoon. But
Yeah.
I think the active lifestyle's easy here because of the
Yeah.
beach, right? I love the beach, love it. In fact, need the chemistry changing sea dive as often as possible. But
Mm.
my daughter bought me a hand surfer a couple of birthdays ago, and it
Oh,
is truly the best gift I've ever been given. And it's like inscribed with Mummy Di on it. I just love it. And it was made by a local, Jason Towner. He does hand surfers,
okay.
and that at Kings Beach, like going across the wave, that is my total de-stress. I live for that. And
Nice.
I've tried to do the surfing thing. I've got a foamy here even in the reception, but it's a timing thing, right? You get out there, and if the waves aren't perfect, or it's having the time to fall off the board enough, which I haven't had while I've been here. But the hand surfing makes that so easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So Is it
So
sort of? I'm picturing something.
looking like I'm playing tennis, but not really. Just go to the beach. But this
Yeah,
here too, like you can go straight in. But yeah, it's just a little timber hand surfer. You slide your hand in the back and adjust it. And
yeah,
it's, you can push yourself up and out of the wave and you feel like you're surfing. It's amazing.
yeah,
And every time
yeah.
I use it, people stop and ask me, like, where'd you get that from? And it's a local guy, right? There's your next
That's cool.
your next
Let's
Monday outfits, right?
let me type it in. Just we'll give him a real promo here. So, what? Tell me his name again.
Is Jason Towner.
Jason Towner, like town and then ER.
Yes, and he's
Jason Towner.
SJ Hand Surfers, and they're all handcrafted. They're beautifully done, and
Oh, that
he's got a
sounds
local
nice.
artist who will either do a picture for you on the top, or I don't know, she can. I've seen some really beautiful turtles and waves and things, but mine had mummy die because it was bought by my daughter.
That's
I love
nice. Jason
it.
Towner, SJ Hand Surfers. Yeah, no, I'll definitely look at that. I love arts and crafts, and then I like the ocean. And once upon a time, I was a strong enough swimmer that I used to do a reasonable amount of body surfing. Like I did surf a lot as well, and do all sorts of. Now, when I look back now, I go, yeah, no wonder I was, no wonder I was fit because I was going to the gym. I'd be like water skiing, wakeboarding, running, bike riding, surfing, body surfing, wrestling with my mates. Just like there's a lot of action, a lot of activity.
I know, and I think with body surfing, you can get away with, if the conditions aren't perfect for surfing, you can still get away with, catching some sneaky waves without it needing to be, so particular. How's that?
Yeah, that's right. Or down at Moffat, sometimes you get that the beach break. It's a bit gnarly for like you probably wouldn't get on a surfboard. Some people do, but yeah, you
Oh
can
yeah, but with
potentially
flippers,
brave that.
you can get out there with flippers far enough.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do tend to go to Kings more for that, just because I'm a big, one of my best friends is in Met's Lifesavers there, and I do support them a lot. I think they do amazing work, and I can't believe they're not, a very highly paid gig, especially on the coast.
mm,
I don't, I love the volunteer concept, but I think they should be paid. They do an amazing job. So
yeah.
yes, I'm a big promo swim between the flags girl.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I've lost. I'm gonna just do a quick battery change. So you keep talking about the
Oh, can we
surf
just point out that
lifesavers.
that's not my technology glitching there, please? Because normally it's me, right?
Yes. So I can still hear you, and I think you can hear me.
Hey, you know what else I loved about your promo for this today was that you used and I'm going to admit to it being a slightly older photo for the the promo, which was my Facebook photo. But Greg Gardner took that, and he's a very talented local photographer. And he recently did some aerial shots of the motel for me, and he came and photographed the apartment upstairs for the Airbnb.
Okay.
So there's so many talented people on the coast.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff. I know that he was part of the Caloundra, like they did that sort of big Caloundra ad.
He
Sort
did.
of
He
thing.
did that. He's very talented, and he used.
Yeah.
I love that too about Greg. Is he like, why pay strangers? Talent, right? He got locals to do that, and that's a credit to him because he had a lot of people offering for that.
Yeah.
Happy to spend the time and promote Caloundra, and I guess not even to be involved in it, just to help him out because he's such a great guy, and supporting local business. I think that's a really nice community feel here too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's what I'm. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I am hoping when I kick off, really start to promote Flicks for Good, which is the social enterprise that I'm launching. Just for a brief, I'll talk about it for a brief second in case anybody hasn't heard about it before. But basically, I'm setting up. I've already established the social enterprise. I just need to actually raise the money to start it, and I'm setting up a video streaming service that will have all the same sort of content that you would have on Netflix, TV, movies, documentaries, etc. Probably a bit of like user-generated stuff, but curated user-generated content, which I think will be more for educational purposes. And then the big focus is really raising money and awareness for people and charities and things like that. So the money that comes in, which will be mostly from advertising revenue, but also people could donate and what have you, the money that comes in will go to creating that content and or purchasing it, just the same as any of the other streamers
Yeah.
do. And giving that money, then also half of it will go to the different causes, and people can nominate, I guess what their interests are. So yeah, it's really exciting. I've spoken to a lot of different people about it, consulted with all sorts of people. I love the internet because I can just jump on and find different thought leaders in different areas, reach out. Heaps of them have spoken to me on Zoom. So, I've had a lot of people help me kind of refine the overall sort of concept. But what I do need is a bucket load of cash. So I want to go all out and just do this massive crowdfunding initiative as well as an awareness campaign. And I want to really, and ideally, it'd be good if I had someone who could help me, like who's really good at coordinating volunteers and what have you. But I'd like to create this Flicks for Good army and basically have a whole bunch of people who are all helping out in different ways with their skills, helping out with getting the word out. And my strategy, whether I should be saying it or not, because sometimes I worry a little bit about the competitors, but right now, like I'm just a dude on the coast, they probably don't even know I'm around. But I just want to ask people for $1, and then that they will actually share it with their friends and the people that they know, but not just share it like a little post that'll get lost in Facebook. Like actually talk to people, email, phone, like some sort of direct contact. And I know a lot of people won't, but I think some people will. And my theory is that if 10 out of 100 people do it, and then 10 out of that next 100 people do it, that only needs to happen 8 times, and you've reached 1 billion people and raised $1 billion. So that's kind of the 0 to 1 billion story that I'm trying to craft together and create a show around. And I think that there'll be lots of people in Moffat, hopefully, that will be keen to lend a hand or get involved. And if anybody's watching and has any skill of any sort, because I'm like you currently, I'm like the chief, I'm the CEO, but I'm also the janitor, the accountant, just the everything. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I had a really cool event here, so maybe we need to set something up like that too. Get all the people that you're talking about in one place. So I've got a little beautiful garden area out the front, and that can be a fire pit, scenario out the front in winter. Or we ran beautiful lights down the middle and did a white party recently, and that looked beautiful. And it was all around the centre of the motel. It was gorgeous. And the other one was around the pool. We had a bit of a retro, funky, old school pool party there. So I've got the venue, which I'd be happy to offer up.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, that's awesome. Now it sounds great.
And if it gets out of hand, there's a couple of bedrooms they can have a little sleepover.
Exactly right. Yeah, right. It's so good. So on the topic of all that kind of aesthetic and design and what have you, I believe that you also have done something to do with fashion. Tell me about that.
Oh, I have. So I had a really great contract with Myer at Maroochydore, and I used to do body shaping. So it was actually used as a VIP service, and the manager at the time up there, Greg Hutton, was very clever, and he thought outside the square, so that's why it made it so easy for me to work with him. So he would offer my service as a reward for being a good regular customer at my Maroochydore. So I'd do like a home shopping service or a personal body shaping service. It was a fashion gig. I loved it. And that went on to doing the fashion pages for My Weekly Preview. So the magazine. Yes. They did the Soul magazine as well as My Weekly Preview. So I did fashion pages for them for a couple of years. Again, loved it. Love that industry. But just personally, I had to get in here and, put my head down and run my own business for a bit. Yeah. But yeah, look, I can certainly do that fashion gig, and I might go back to it at some point, but it helps maybe with colour here. I don't know. Yeah. But at the moment, you kind of enjoy, I guess, the interaction with the different people coming in. Tell us about, I mean, obviously you don't have to use their exact names, but tell us about some of the more peculiar guests that you've had come and visit. Any funny stories? God, seriously, Brad, I could write a book. And lots of friends say that I should. But, look, I don't know. There's always that confidentiality thing with the motel, and I certainly hold with that because you've got to respect people's privacy. And when people rent a room, it's certainly theirs for the time. But you really do get some colourful people here, and I love the variety. And I think people surprise me, like, you just cannot judge a book by its cover. So sometimes the most well-dressed people that look like they have heaps of money and they're in a fancy car, and the state of their room afterwards is like quite shocking. And then someone that you just probably second guess and you want a lot of ID from and you want to know exactly why they're here, that guest can end up being so interesting and promote your business endlessly. And they sometimes they have a more interesting story, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that. Yes, I've got a lot of regular guests here, and I think maybe because of that customer service and certainly Caloundra has got very different. The competition is interesting here, and there's not a big 5-star resort or hotel here to compete with, and that's not my customer anyway.
Yeah.
And just be open. Look, you've got to really know your market and hold there.
Yeah.
So and I think because I am a 1 to 2 night gig, that attracts another guest again. So I love families. I love it when there's kids in the pool and you can hear them calling out, and they'll play handball down the back, or they'll ride scooters around the motel. And then I've got, I have one guest, and I can actually mention them because they're super cute but very quirky. Yeah. And they have Princess Pearl, the fluffiest cat you've ever seen. You can pat it, in 5 minutes in, you get to the body of the cat.
Yeah.
But this guest actually rings up and books in Princess Pearl. So Princess Pearl would like to come and stay in her usual room at the Moffat Beach Motel. And, they book her in and they come too. Yeah. And he's an avid op shopper, so he collects records and old books and, so interesting, right? But I love Mrs. P. She can hardly get in the car at the end because he's been to so many shops and filled up the car with all these collectibles. She eye rolls, but he's happy as anything.
Yeah.
So, there's guests like that, and a few contracts with, companies that are here for working gigs. I don't know, like Moffat Beach only needs a 50th or a 21st or an engagement party, and the motel fills up just with one party, which is lovely.
Yeah. It seemed like there was something going on Saturday, actually. I don't know. We went down to the inlet for the shortest swim. But yeah, what was happening? Because it just seemed like there was a vibe. There were people milling around. Yeah. There was a party happening down at one of the houses down the corner there. It was it looked pretty packed. They had a band. Yeah. What was going on there?
I could sit up on the balcony up here and you could hear every song. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But, they're pretty respectful. They weren't, crazy until late. Just, a local party.
Yeah.
I had people check in here, and a local guy from Seaview Terrace who, yes, he is local. He owns the house, and I think he Airbnbs it. But he had a party here, filled up the whole motel with his guests, and then said, I insist you come because, you're part of Moffat Beach.
Yeah,
went to the party, there were about 25 locals there, people from the other local businesses.
Yeah.
And that is a great example of how Moffat Beach works.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. No, that's fun. Definitely very fun. I could.
Right. So weddings down on the edge of Dickey and down at Moffat.
Yes.
That can fill up the motel really quickly. I'm only 13 rooms, but I'm about to have an Airbnb upstairs, which is going to be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's nice to have people like in one location. Like when we got married at this place called Cedar Creek Lodges down in Mount Tambourine. Yeah, because it's a funny joint because it's got the Cedar Creek Lodges, which is kind of like these 5-star little 4 or 5 chalets, and then you've got right there as well. You've got Thunderbird Park, which has this ropes course. They've got paintball, horse riding. There's a mini golf course. There's camping. There's all sorts of stuff going on there. But we kind of love that as well. It's a bit quirky, and it's surrounded by rainforest. That was the thing. They've got this nice outdoor area set up specifically for weddings, where there's this little creek that runs. A real creek that runs around the back, and the little pretend creek that runs through the centre of where the guests sit, just on these shelved terrace sort of things. And then it's just big wooden pillars and open to the rainforest behind you. So you get married there, and then right next to it they have this function area where you have you literally your guests they check into that place. They're all on the one location, and they get there either the day before or on the day, and we just wanted to make it really easy, so there's no busting around or anything. Like, they literally watched the wedding, and then while we were getting photos taken, they just walked 3 meters, and then we're having cocktails and canapes and stuff. And then we did all our stuff, and then came back, and then we had the reception, and and I believe that they kicked on. A few people kicked on at one of that. There's a house there as well that you can book out. So we pretty much almost took over the whole place, and it was just great. I loved that style. So yeah, for anybody who might be watching, thinking about weddings and what have you, I'd highly recommend doing everything in the one spot.
Yeah, we had a family reunion here recently where they literally had part of the family camping at the Dicky Beach Park here. Yeah. They had guests in Rain Trees. They had guests down at Norfolk's. They took every room here, and they had their breakfast and lunch down at Moffat, and they'd organised a barbecue for one day. So everyone was in this whole area.
Yeah.
At one stage, they had all the kids back here for a swim, and then they put all the, I've got little silver tables and chairs out the front of each room. They put them all together and had a big, long family buffet down the middle, just with fish and chips. And
it's awesome.
It was just beautiful. I love that. It was a family reunion group. But that often happens where someone will say, oh, my family's down at the holiday park and we're just going to come for one night to visit them. And they literally walk up the road and they'll go to the Dicky Beach Surf Club for dinner, walk back. It's all safe, it's all accessible. Or, the picnics down at Moffat. They're all playing beach cricket and volleyball. I love that.
Yeah.
The promotions girl from Moffat Beach, I love it.
Yeah, no, it is very good. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to Matt from the brewery opening up their new venue. I'm interested to see how that's going to pan out. So I've had him, he was on the show, episode or 2 before, and he's a country boy originally as well, from out near, really close actually to one of the teeny places I lived. He lived in Gunnedah, which kind of got actually sort of on the map courtesy of I've got a mental blank. I can't believe I'm a red-blooded male and forgotten her name. But who's that amazing supermodel chick she's brown hair. Oh, she's like a Victoria's Secret.
Yes. Who does the skincare? Cora.
I can't remember what her name is.
But we're both got the mental block now.
Yeah, there was a rumour that she was building that gigantic place down at Dicky Beach. Miranda Kerr. Yeah, anyway, so she's from Gunnedah, right? It's Gunnedah, it's just pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's 7 hours inland in New South Wales. Right. And then anyway, so it's fairly remote, but it's like one of those country hubs, really. So there's probably 10,000, 20,000 people there. I don't know, but it was big compared to where we were. So then we were at Malali, which is just like a 7-house town with a 2-teacher school and a pub. Of course, there's always a pub. Pub and a machinery shop and a little store that sold lollies and stuff. But anyway, it's on the road between Gunnedah and Coonabarabran. That's the only way you can describe it. And you drive through, and the highway is the main street. It just goes through the place. So yeah. So we've
how brave of Matt and Chaz to do that brewery down there like that. I really admire that, because it's a big swing, right? And if you take a big bite like that and you got to chew pretty hard, but it's really paid off, and I really take my hat off to them. And especially Esther with the pocket, and that business has changed the vibe down there. And my sister had a fish and chip shop down there, the Fish, for a while, and I don't know, that whole little area is just quirky and interesting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of places have similar components, but it just doesn't pull together the way Moffat does.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, there's a nice little collection of places there. Like, I think as our kids get a bit older, or we get back to being a bit more financially independent, and we can hire a babysitter at the ridiculous rates that people seem to be charging for babysitting nowadays,
Right.
then I'd love to get down there. You know, Debs and I would have a great time sitting in the afternoon. And I mean, you know, how many breweries are there? Like, well, micro breweries and award winning at that. Like, they've won heaps of awards for their beer. How many award winning breweries are there in the world that have a view of the ocean? Like, I don't know that there'd be very many.
And look, and my guests are so lucky, and they're often surprised. Like they'll park undercover here, and a lot of them won't take their cars out for the whole weekend.
Mm,
I mean, with a bakery and food works across the road, you've got like even to have a little store there, you can
yeah,
walk straight through the back. There's parks, there's barbecues, there's enough interest at Moffat Beach for every meal. So
yeah,
they don't have, everyone asks for cooking facilities and then they never use them. They don't need to. Why would you compete with what's on offer down there, right?
yeah,
So I do get asked that, do you provide breakfast? And I think, oh, why? Just walk like a block and a half. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not a chef. I'm not doing that cool stuff. And look at the aspect and like
yeah,
everything is here, really.
yeah.
It's a really great location. So I think, I don't know that it's going to be a secret much longer, Brad, really.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I
Yeah,
know
well,
with my guests, once they come, they always come back. We rarely see people once and never again. The repeat's really nice. Nice
yeah,
for us,
that's
of
nice.
course, for business, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think once people find it, they're like, oh, okay, now we know it's here. Yeah, it's
yeah,
great.
yeah. Do you do you have people who come like for Christmas holidays, for example, and they just book straight after like one after the other, like, and they just come all the time, or
Um, I do, especially with the doggy bookings, because I've got a couple of pet friendly rooms, which
right?
makes sense because Moffat Beach is doggy friendly,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
And that's been a massive growth part of my business,
mm,
which is sometimes challenging because sadly and a little bit madly, I'm allergic to a couple of dogs, like
right,
hugely allergic.
yeah, right,
So I do struggle on with that, but it's the short haired dog I find tricky. But Michaela, we just work the roster so that if it's going to be a breathing issue for me, I make sure she's here and we swap around a bit. But I
yeah,
can do poodles and fluffies quite easily. But we just had a staffy here for 4 days, and he was beautiful, a really glossy, chocolatey puppy, and people love that they can walk to Moffat and they can be on lead and off lead and all of that, you know, animal friendly option here. And like I've told you about Princess Pearl, the fluffy cat. We've
yeah,
had a macaw here. We've had a Joey in a pouch here. We've had lots of cats, lots of dogs. So, always interesting having a pet friendly motel. So we
yeah,
get a lot of
definitely.
those repeating. And because the family rooms and the pet rooms go first, we do find those families rebook pretty quickly.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Repeat guests are really great, but I'm also a little bit addicted to the new guest and,
Yeah.
something. So I like the balance of both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Variety.
a lot of guests become my friends, and, some people would find that a bit tricky, but yeah, I
Yeah.
really like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I also like that there's enough turnover and there's enough. And I think, if you treat the online travel agencies like that, to me, they're advertising to get the new guests. And once they're here, then I can turn them into a direct booking and then they're my guests,
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit nicer.
Yeah. So talk to us about COVID because I mean when it first happened, I
Right.
mean how much hair
Yeah.
did you lose?
Uh, yes, look, Easter was a bit heartbreaking because, we lost all of our bookings and then it was followed up with the long weekend and then
Mm.
to lose Beach Fest. Like, I have the Beach Fest surfboard up there. I don't know if I move the camera about, is that a big no-no?
Oh no, you can do that. Yeah. Yeah.
That because
Because it's
they
like
had that made for
behind
me.
the scenes.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had that made for me last year, right?
Oh, that's
Which
cool.
is
Yeah,
I,
Beach Fest is a
I
big hot rod event for people who don't know.
yeah,
So basically, the town just gets taken over by all sorts of
beautiful
cool
cars.
cars. Yeah,
And they're so like I have the same group every year that come and they're so passionate and I just love that their cars are like their babies and
yeah,
you know the same group book every year. So to lose them, it just means that I didn't get to see like 12 groups of guests that I look forward to seeing every year.
yeah,
And they take me for a ride in the cars and, we go
yeah,
over and support them and go and visit them in the main street when they're all set up. And so, yes, that was a bit sad, but
yeah,
everyone did as they were asked and they stayed home. And so for us, we were just forced to pull our renovations, I guess, from winter into that period. And that was actually okay timing because, like I said before, June, July then got really busy. So we'd already, painted everything and we'd replaced a lot of, I don't know, furniture and bedspreads and bits and pieces. So we just did our renovation at a different time this year. So yes, certainly uncertain times and a little bit tricky. And the industry as a whole was really smashed. But I think maybe because we are a short option and we don't have the minimum stays of 3 nights or 5 nights or 7 nights, I feel I've recovered pretty quickly. And I think that's also linked to the repeat, the huge amount of repeat business. And look, we didn't have to do much different, Brad. Like honestly, I'd be pretty confident to say I'm the cleanest motel in the area. And, with Michaela, she's my beautiful manager. She's quite happy to say she's got serious OCD and I'm a Virgo, so together we're like super clean. So it wasn't like we had to do extra cleaning, we were already doing it. But look, you have to be part of the COVID rules, I guess, and do particular things. So look, certainly tricky, but I don't know, now it's kind of boosted business because people are going local and zooming around quite a bit and maybe appreciating what we have here a little bit more, which might have been needed.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I think you'll have a cracking period from now, like through, this beautiful weather, swimming weather for just everybody, even, locals who are acclimatised here, but definitely anybody down south will probably be sweating. With people not travelling overseas and lots of people potentially needing to find something that's a bit more affordable, you guys are a great, definitely a great option. So,
and I think the increase of, the biking and people were buying sups and people were buying, they were getting really into activities. So, we've had families come with their the trailer with the 5 bikes on and people with the sups and the kayaks. So people have become a bit more active and I kind of love that, right?
Yes, I've been having a crack at the sup. I need to save my pennies now so I can actually get a surf version because I just got one of those cheap Anaconda jobs, the blow up job, and which I think is probably technically supposed to be for flat water, but I've been silly enough to go out into the ocean.
Lake, just over there.
But I have actually caught some waves on it. Like it's almost impossible to turn. But I have actually managed to catch a few waves, and I hadn't surfed for 20 years. And because of having, I think I told you about breaking my back, so I can't feel my right foot. That's a permanent injury that's lasted on, and probably will be there unless there's a magical breakthrough in technology of fixing people. But so I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be able to surf. But then I hired a longboard a few years ago for my birthday, and just thought it'd be just nice to even paddle in the water, and managed to catch a few waves and fall off a lot, but caught a couple. And I was like, oh, maybe. And I thought, oh, maybe the stand-up paddleboard could be good because I'm already up. But it is tricky because the ocean, sometimes there's stuff going on that moves the board all over the place.
Like unpredictable.
So not feeling 1 foot.
You could try the hand surfer because that keeps a lot of my girlfriends up because they don't want to do the knee gig where they're jumping up. And that certainly saves them. But that's why I love the hand surfer because you also don't have to get it. You don't have to duck dive with it. It actually helps me go under rather than trying to get this massive board that's supposed to be floating underneath. And I don't have a lot of upper strength to be pushing that stuff under. So that's my jam for sure.
Hand surfer, so good. Hey, we're kind of coming up to the hour now, so I'd like to try and sort of keep it under an hour if possible because it's it's a fair watch for people.
I know it goes so quick for me, right? Because we're just talking about Moffat Beach, which is everyday thing.
It's so good. Lovely to talk to you. Thanks so much for your offer. I think I will be taking that up, and we'll get some little event happening down there and fire up some more of this Flicks for goodness and see where that goes. And I'm so glad to hear that you guys.
Good for you, right?
Thanks a lot. All right. Thanks for coming. I'll see you around
Thank you very much.
the neighbourhood. See ya. Awesome. We got it done. So good. It's a perfect comeback after the initial setback of finding out we couldn't do it last minute last time and having to go just for a random impromptu walk around the neighbourhood, which was still good for the overseas people. So look, hey, for anybody who's watching, make sure you do all the subscribing and liking, sharing, all that great stuff, and I'll catch you next time. Hooroo!